most of you know, I am a freshman at UWS in Superior, and I'm working on my bachelor's degree in speech communications. I've enjoyed the communications process and learning about different aspects of it. Tonight I'm going to focus in on the stereotypes that can have negative results on speakers and listeners during communications and beyond. To break this down, I'll briefly discuss the negative effects for a speaker, should that speaker exemplify stereotypes either on themselves or on listeners that they're speaking to. I'll talk about how negative stereotypes can affect listeners should they play into stereotypes while they're listening to a speaker, and then we'll look briefly on how those effects negatively can affect even after the initial speech is over and last beyond that. Let's start by looking at negative effects caused by a speaker to themselves. Courtney Von Hippel is a professor from the University of Queensland School of Psychology, and she wrote a study about stereotype threats. Now, reducingstereotypethreats.org defines a stereotype threat as being at risk of confirming as oneself a characteristic negative stereotype about one's group. This process is fueled by one's beliefs in negative stereotypes. Von Hippel's studies were about women who experienced stereotype threats regarding leadership abilities and how, when faced with those stereotypes, they reacted against them by taking on a more masculine approach and communication style. Further results showed that afterwards, during these types of conflicts, they were actually deemed as less personable, less warm, and less likable by their peers. Thusly, this was a negative effect resulted from stereotypes. Another example of negative results on a speaker, we'll take a look on intergenerational communications between my late grandmother, Virginia Junebug Jodell, and on many occasions, Grandma June would play to the stereotype that us younger generation of kids didn't know anything about anything. This had a negative effect when communicating with her because we would all get frustrated with her "it's my way or the highway" sort of attitude. The negative effect on her was that the things that she was trying to say and the points that she was trying to make would oftentimes fall on deaf ears or semi-deaf ears. Now I will discuss the negative effects caused by a listener while stereotyping. According to Andrew E. Schwartz in his article post titled "Listening is Harder Than You Think," stereotyping a speaker's appearance, accent, or appearance or speech pattern can obstruct communication. If, for example, you, the listener, have been stereotyping me, the speaker, as some dumb blonde who doesn't know what she's talking about, you've probably missed out on the important educational things that I've been saying during this speech. So that would be a negative effect that you, the listener, would take. Also, Andrew E. Schwartz continues in that article to state that our poor listening habits may result in conflicts, costly errors, and inefficiency. If, for example, you were at a seminar for work, and during that seminar, the speaker had needed to listen to a speaker with a happy accent, but in stereotyping, couldn't get past that accent, you would miss out on important information, possibly causing conflicts between you, your boss, or your coworkers. I'd like stereotyping can last for both the speaker and listener, even when the initial period of communication is over. While watching a King's speech with my husband, I noticed that Prince Albert, who had a terrible stuttering problem, would be ridiculed by his father to just spit it out. His father fell prey to negative and false stereotypes that his son was in control over his disease and would just be able to fix it if made to. Obviously, Prince Albert was not able to just fix it, and when his father demanded. The negative effects hung around even after the initial conversation was over. Both of them felt mutually that they knew the other was disappointed. This outcome was due to false stereotyping of the father for his believing that his son could easily control his disease, the false stereotype for Prince Albert for believing that he was a failure. To finish, we'll look at one last study. One of the most important communication relationships that there is between a mother and a daughter. There was a study done according to Francesca Romero Almorn, Mara Cadunia, and Carlo Tomastillo. Girls who experienced stereotype threat from their mothers because of their mother's endorsement of gender stereotypes about math performed worse than their peers on math tasks. These findings are important because they point to the role of mothers' beliefs in the development of the girl's vulnerability to the negative effects of gender stereotypes about math. These effects surely lasted beyond just the home setting and continued on into the girls' educational setting, therefore lasting longer than just the initial communication process between the mothers and daughters. In conclusion, I hope that the information presented on negative results of stereotypes on speakers and listeners, not only during the communication process with each other, but also beyond, have been informative for you. Just to recap, stereotypes can have negative effects on speakers, they can have negative effects on listeners, and those effects can last even beyond the initial speech conversation. And I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I really, really appreciate you guys listening to me, and have a good night.
The end.